Hello, you're welcome once again to help police solve some of Britain's major mysteries. The programme's live, of course. Real witnesses take part in all our reconstructions. And as you're about to see, Crimewatch viewers make sure it really works.
On one case we appealed on in October, there seemed very little to go on. You may remember the attack on Jo Chandler, the hiker who was doing the coast-to-coast walk across the Yorkshire Dales. Our reconstruction tracked her route past Catterick Racecourse just before she was attacked and left for dead. After watching Crimewatch, a woman contacted police about a local man. 2 weeks ago, a kitchen porter from Darlington was arrested. He's been committed for trial and charged with attempted murder. Jo Chandler herself has now been in hospital for more than 6 months, but she's regained consciousness now and has even, to some extent, recovered the ability to talk.
There's also been good progress on last month's reconstructions. First, Derek Johnson, the East London businessman who was murdered while he worked late at his office. Detectives are now following several new lines of inquiry. They also want a woman to call back who's now rung twice with information. They promise to be, and I quote, more than discreet, but they do need more to go on.
Several names have been put forward in connection with the murder of Geraldine Pork, who was attacked and killed after she left a Cardiff nightclub on the Friday before Christmas. And on the armed raid in Cowley, where onlookers bravely intervened and foiled a robbery, police received more than 200 calls, and they say they'd been very encouraged by the response.
The first of this month's reconstructions is another raid on a security van, but this time it's one of the most appalling robberies we've ever covered. 2 security guards were shot. One, who was in his 60s, was actually complying with the gunman's instructions when he was fired on, pointlessly and at point-blank range. His pulse, in fact, had stopped when an off-duty nurse who'd been driving past brought him back to life. After 2 weeks in intensive care, he's still seriously ill. His colleague, who was shot in the face, is now partly paralysed and deaf. Now, obviously, we're not going to show you any of the gruesome details, but if you recognise anything that could be helpful in our reconstruction, do please call. The sequence of events begins 3 weeks before the robbery and 9 miles away. This is outside Claremont Motorcycles off London Road in Gloucester, just after 4:30 p.m. on Monday, January the 7th.
These bikes outside were saying?
No, not those, mate, but there's some in the window you can have a look at.
I like the look of the red one.
I'll take it. Right, when would you like it, sir?
No.
He didn't actually touch anything. He kept himself to himself. Even when we were looking at the bike, he just peered over it rather than touch any of the controls or anything. Right, he's all ready, set up for you, sir. That'd be £525. Some people are happy buying a bike, but it looked like he was just buying the bike for work, and it was just something he had to have rather than want to have. Thank you very much. So a bottle of 2-stroke oil there for you. If you want to follow me over to the counter, and I'll be ready to see.
Three weeks later, Monday, January the 28th, in Cheltenham at the Red Cross shop in Bath Road. It's opposite Lloyd's Bank.
When the young man came into the shop, I was struck by his expressionless face, and I couldn't understand why a young man like that, unaccompanied, would come into a shop like this. We haven't got anything for him. He was well dressed, and he looked at everything, including baby wear and ladies' skirts, which is strange for a young, unaccompanied man. His face was cold. He didn't want to be approached. He had a very military manner. He looked very determined. I really thought he was probably going to be shoplifting. I also have ladies working here with me, and of course we have a till. And I was nervous. I didn't think he was up to any good.
Next day, Tuesday the 29th, and a barmaid, Christine Ryland, noticed two men loitering round Bath Road. One, tall, fair and slim, the other, stocky, dark, maybe 5'10", both in their mid-20s.
I first seen the two men the day before the robbery took place. There's not really a lot to do in Bath Road, and this seemed to take place over a period of about 4 hours that I kept bumping into the same two men, particularly round by the Lloyds Bank.
One day later, 100 yards from the bank, it's Wednesday the 30th of January at 10:20 in the morning, and this man's been hanging round here for an hour.
Open up. Open up. Come on, get this door open.
John, open up.
Get him to open it. Come on. Get it open.
There's a raid on my van. Call the police. Dial 999.
Why isn't he opening it? Get him to open it. Come on.
John, please, open it up. John. John, please, John. For God's sake, please, John. John, he means it, please.
Get that door up.
Please open up. John, please. John, for God's sake.
Open up.
John.
Please, John, please. Get out of the way. Get out.
Back on Bath Road, a nurse was going shopping with her husband.
Somebody's been hurt, Joyce.
Oh, hell. There's a security guard flat on the floor with a telephone engineer behind him, holding onto his face where he'd been shot. Eyes staring, very, very scared. There's another security guard in there, also shot. I jumped up into the van to see if I could help. He was sitting at the far end of the van, pale, clammy, slumped in a corner, with another telephone engineer behind him, trying to help. I went over to him, had a look at his chest. There was a small bullet hole going through, straight out the back. If it had gone an inch to the side, it would have gone into his heart and killed him. He then became unconscious, so we got him flat on the floor. I started doing resuscitation, and thank goodness he came back to me. I stayed with the guard, made sure he kept breathing, that he was conscious, and the ambulance men came, and between us we got him into the ambulance. Since then, which is rather nice, he was admitted into the intensive care unit at Cheltenham, and I've looked after him on a couple of occasions. He was nice to see him getting better, and horrific to think that her grandfather should have to go through that when there was no need at all.
Who are these two men? Remember, the robbery happened on Wednesday, January the 30th at about 10:50 a.m. So who are they? Where are they now? Though this distinctive bike's now been recovered, where was it between January the 7th and the 30th? D247FDG. Did you see anyone with it? And did you see an old brown car near Casino Place? The blonde gunman used it for his getaway after dumping the bike a quarter of a mile away. If you can help in any way, you may well help prevent another terrible attack. And incidentally, if your information leads to convictions, you might collect a very, very big reward, £20,000. Detective Inspector Terry Moore and his team are waiting here, 081 811 8181. That's 081 811 8181. Or you can call their colleagues at Cheltenham Police Station. That's 0242 528 282. 0242 is the code for Cheltenham, 528 282.
On last month's programme now, we appealed on Incident Desk to find two men involved with a company offering to sell people's cars for them within 72 hours. But £80,000 worth of cars simply disappeared. A keen-eyed viewer rang immediately after the programme and a man has now been charged with conspiracy to defraud.
Again on Incident Desk, we showed an artist's impression of a woman who'd been murdered in southeast London last month. Police wanted to find out who she was, and a Crimewatch viewer has provided the answer. She remembered meeting the woman at Banbury railway station in December. The woman told her she just stayed overnight at Banbury and was now on her way to Bournemouth. Well, police checked hotel guest lists, and after tracing an address and matching dental records, they finally solved the mystery. The woman was Cheryl Shackleton, a 34-year-old from Nelson in Lancashire. Now, if you know anything at all that might help solve her murder, please do ring us here tonight.
And there have been 3 more arrests as a direct result of photocall. Scotland Yard were investigating a number of bank frauds involving stolen credit cards and chequebooks. Several viewers called in with information, and a man has now been charged with an offence involving deception. Then in a second case, a man has been charged with 9 offences, 6 involving armed robbery. And a third man didn't know his picture had been on Crimewatch until police called round to see him at the guest house where he'd been staying. They wanted to speak to him about several offences of dishonesty, including the theft of savings from a number of women. He is now being charged with burglary and theft.
Well, now for this month's Photo Call, a gallery of faces detectives need your help to find. Here to take us through them, Superintendent David Hatcher and Detective Constable Jackie Hames.
Colleagues in the flying squad believe this man has carried out at least 12 armed robberies at building societies in the last 6 months. Here he is in a London suburb at the Leeds Permanent in Richmond. This is the 9th of November. As usual, he has a small handgun and threatens the cashiers. Last December, he went into the Britannia Building Society in the West End. He's obviously getting a bit cocky because as he left with some cash, he even wished the staff a Merry Christmas. Perhaps we can make his Easter less jolly. Ring us now if you know who he is. There is a reward.
Do you know where this man is now? His name is Imtiaz Asghar. He lives in Reading but hasn't been at home since the 20th of January. He may have useful information about the violent death of Jason Swadling. Jason died from stab wounds after a fight with 5 youths along Oxford Road, Reading, in the early hours of Sunday the 20th of January. Imtiaz Asghar is 19 years old, 5'10" and of slim build. He has a small scar above his right eye and wears a gold necklace bearing his nickname, Immy. He may have shaved off that moustache by now. Please do ring us if you've seen him.
Next, we need your help to find this woman. So far, we've only been able to catch her picture as she moves about the north, defrauding banks of hundreds of pounds. She's cashing cheques stolen last year from a home in South Humberside. The burglary could be part of a series in that area. The cheques, however, have turned up all over the north of England, Wales and into Scotland, and we think it's been the same woman every time. She's between 25 and 35, about 5'5", with dark curly hair, which she mostly wears tied back. If you've seen her, my colleagues would like to hear from you.
David John Weller has been missing since October of last year. His family are becoming increasingly anxious about his well-being, especially as he failed to contact his 2 young children at Christmas. David Weller was the accountant for a Leicester firm which works on contract to British Rail. He may have important information which colleagues would like to discuss with him. On the 12th of October, Mr. Weller phoned his ex-wife from the Redlands area of Bristol. That was the last contact he had with his family. David Weller is 35, 5'8" and rather overweight. He has a Midlands accent. If you know where he is or any of our other photo call faces, call us now.
Here's the number, 081 811 8181. That's 081 811 8181 if you can help in any way.
Our next case is a murder which seems to be absolutely motiveless. In the early hours of Saturday, December the 22nd, a young taxi driver was stabbed to death in his cab. He lived in Stoke-on-Trent with his wife and 2 children under the age of 3. It seems likely that whoever killed Steve Johnson also lives in or near Stoke, but the information police need to find him might of course come from anywhere in the country. Steve loved spending time with his children, and we begin our reconstruction at the site of an old ruined castle, which is a popular place for family outings, just outside Stoke-on-Trent.
Look at that. Look at them lovely fields. They're great.
Steve Johnson was a kindly, unassuming young man. He was devoted to his family and would turn his hand to all kinds of odd jobs in order to earn money for them, especially with Christmas coming up.
Have you ever been this high up before?
Come on, Steve, let's go.
He and his wife Kathleen had 2 small daughters. This is Mowcop Castle, a beauty spot a few miles north of Stoke. It was just a short distance from here that Steve Johnson was murdered.
Can you pick up at 125 Cornville Road for me?
125 Cornville, roger.
Getting up to Hanley.
Steve was training to be an insurance salesman during the day and worked nights as a taxi driver in Stoke.
Hi, She, you alright, Doug?
Hi, Steve, you stuck, are you?
Yeah, fine. What car am I in tonight, love?
You're in Bravo 5, it's in the yard, Duck.
Okay. See you later then.
Alright,
Ta-ra.
Steve, try, Duck.
Steve was a very likeable man. All the staff got on with him well. He didn't come in until about 9 o'clock in the evening, and when he came in, he'd always say to you, "Look, I've just put the 2 girls to bed." And he always seemed as if he did that before he come to work at night times.
The cab looked like many of the taxis in Stoke, except that only 7 cabs in the city have this distinctive red and black logo on the doors. Passengers may also remember the tiny portable TV he often took with him. With just 4 days to go now before Christmas, Friday the 21st of December was a busy night for the taxi trade. Steve was working solidly all evening. By 2 in the morning, he'd picked up more than 20 fares. His last identified fare was at around 3 in the morning when he drove this young woman home in the Longton area of Stoke. A dance club called Shelley's is near there.
Shelley's is packed tonight.
Yeah.
He may have picked up a passenger on his way back past Shelley's, but by around 3:15 a.m. he was heading in towards Hanley in the city centre.
What's Hanley like?
No cars, no people.
About 5 minutes after that, he radioed in to say he'd picked up another fare.
Bravo 5, She.
Bravo 5, Steve.
Hanley to Packmore.
Roger.
Roger.
Sometime before 4 in the morning, 2 villagers in Packmore were woken by what seemed to be an argument on the corner of Lordshire Place. No one knows whether this man returned to the cab or whether there was another passenger in the taxi as it drove off in the direction of Mowcop. A resident in Mowcop remembers hearing a car in the early hours labouring up the hill on Castle Road. The taxi office had expected Steve back within half an hour.
Bravo 5, Steve. Bravo 5, Steve. Bravo 5, Steve.
As time passed with no sign of Steve, the company sent another driver out to look for him.
Five, Steve, if you can hear me, give me a ring.
Steve's taxi was discovered at daybreak. All the night's takings and the mini TV set were still inside. Steve's throat had been cut, but he'd managed to stagger a few yards down the farm lane. The spot where he died is now marked by flowers. Well, Mr. Ravenscroft, nothing was stolen from his cab. What could the motive for this really horrible murder possibly have been?
Unfortunately, our inquiries have still failed to reveal a motive for the murder of Stephen Johnson. He was a young man with a young family, And despite extensive inquiries, I'm afraid that the crime still remains motiveless.
A really rotten crime. Let's have a look at the map of the area. On his return from dropping the woman in the Longton area at about 3 in the morning, he'd have headed back, probably past Shelley's Club, towards Handley in the Stoke city centre, from where he'd have radioed that final time to say he'd picked up a fare to Packmore, and then from Packmore on to Mile Cop, 2.5 miles away, where of course Steve's body was found in the early hours of that Saturday morning. Now, there are 6 fares still unaccounted for that Steve took during the course of that last night. Why are those so important?
Well, following an extensive examination of Steve's taxi, not surprisingly, a number of fingerprints were found. And we are eager, obviously, to eliminate these fingerprints. A number have been eliminated and have been put down to legitimate fares, and obviously we are eager to eliminate as many of them as possible.
So you need to account for as many as possible, hoping to reduce them just to the one set.
Hopefully.
And that's why also you're undertaking a massive fingerprinting exercise in Mile Cop itself.
We are. We're appealing to residents of Mile Cop to come forward and give us a set of prints, which I can assure them is purely for elimination purposes and will be used purely and simply in connection with this investigation.
So if you live in Mile Cop and haven't yet gone along, it's about 400 people altogether you need to see.
That's right.
Between the ages of 16 and 40. Please do go along. Finally, a very important sighting. A man was seen a couple of hours after Steve's body was found. That would have been about 7:30 on that Saturday morning, the 22nd of December. A woman was walking her dog at a place called the Rookery, about a mile from Mile Cop, and she had a very strange encounter with someone.
Is it the morning after the night before?
No, it's much worse than that.
She gave you quite a detailed description, didn't she, of that man?
Yes, she did. As you say, this is an interesting sighting. He's described as wearing a cream or off-white shirt and what she describes as good quality blue trousers. He was a white male, aged about 30, and the particular thing that she noticed was his mousy hair was dishevelled as though he'd been out all night. She also noticed that he appeared to have scratches on his cheeks and what appeared to be blood stains on the left upper part of the shirt. Obviously, there may be a legitimate reason for this person being out, although it was unusual, the fact of the time of day and the time of year, the fact that he hadn't got a top coat.
So it's vital you find that man. Remember, it was 4 days before Christmas, the 22nd of December. Is there anybody else you need to speak to or anything else you'd like to add on this case?
Yes, on behalf of Stephen Johnson's family, I would like to appeal to anybody who may be harbouring any suspicions about a relative, a friend or a neighbour who hasn't yet come forward. I would urge them to ring the incident room and allow us to eliminate those people and thus remove their suspicions.
Mr. Ravenscroft, thank you. If you can give any clue as to who killed Steve or why, please do ring us straight away. The number here is 081 811 8181, or if you'd like to ring the incident room direct, the number there is 0782 717 999. That's 0782, the code for Stoke, 717 999.
Let me just tell you, there's a tremendous volume of calls coming in. There's a great volume of them have been on that armed raid in Cheltenham in which the 2 security guards were shot. At first, nearly all the calls coming in on that tended to be identifying or trying to identify the blonde man, that's the gunman. But in the last few minutes, we've had probably half a dozen and more putting names and other details to the other guy. The guy was about 5'10" with dark hair who bought the motorbike. On photo call, we've had a number of possible names put forward for the robber in South London. First of all, there have been sightings of the female fraudster, 2 possible sightings for David Weller, and some people have rung in with details of Imi. That's Imtiaz Asghar. Obviously, we'll bring you more on that as we get anything else in. Now, though, to this month's incident desk. Here with the details are DC Jackie Hames and Superintendent David Hatcher.
Good evening. Tonight we start with a case which angered the nation and is enough to make every parent fearful. Raymond Kelly, at only 17, was gunned down in cold blood at a garage in Hartley-Wintney in Hampshire on the 1st of February. 2 callous thieves armed with a shotgun got away with £70 from the till after shooting him in the back as he lay on the floor as instructed. The whole thing took less than a minute, so descriptions are vague. The man who snatched the money from the till was wearing a jacket like this one, and we think it had a motif here. He was in his late teens to early 20s and fairly slim. The man with the gun was the same age, but shorter and stockier. They ran off towards a light-coloured, older-style hatchback car, maybe a Fiesta, Chevette or Astra, possibly with a W in the registration. This man was seen near the garage after the shooting. Involved. Ring us if you recognise him. Raymond Kelly had only just left school. He had his whole life ahead of him. If you know anything, however insignificant it may seem, please do ring. There is a reward. Someone must know who killed this young lad.
A student from Sheffield will always be thankful that she was carrying one of these personal attack alarms. In the early hours of Monday the 28th of January, she was walking along Crooks Valley Road near the university. As she passed by the park, a man jumped out and grabbed her, pinning her against a wall. He indecently assaulted her and punched her in the face, but she managed to activate her personal attack alarm and the man fled. Although she was badly shaken and bruised, she was able to give this description of him. He was between 35 and 40, 5'10", medium build, with short brown untidy hair and had a local Sheffield accent. Do you know who he is? He was scared off by her alarm. It did its job, and many people do feel more reassured if they're carrying one. These are just a few of the different alarms on the market. They cost from about £3 to £16. If you're thinking of buying one, do choose an alarm which locks on. So if it's knocked out of your hand, it'll keep making a noise. If you do buy one, remember to keep it handy. You might not have time to look for it.
The rape of a man is rarely publicised, but in London, colleagues are investigating an extremely brutal attack on a young man which led to him being beaten, raped and left for dead in a hotel in Bayswater. On Monday the 11th of February, the man, who comes from Thailand, came out of Queensway tube station at 11:35 p.m. He was on his way to work at a local hotel. Turning down Porchester Gardens, he was surrounded by 3 men. He describes them as Arabs, possibly Algerian. You may have seen a struggle going on as he was then bundled along the street and into a hotel at 9 Kensington Gardens Square. Once here, you might have heard his shouts for help. This is one of his attackers. He's about 27, 5'9", and has a distinctive mop-like black curly hair. The victim thought he'd seen him before in Bayswater, so there's a good chance that he lives or works locally. The Queensway area of London is always busy, even at night, and there must have been people about on February the 11th, even though there was still heavy snow on the ground. If you saw this man or his 2 friends that night, or at any other time, do please ring us.
Next, an appeal on what appears to have been a break-in that went wrong, with tragic circumstances. James Gallagher worked as a security night watchman at Kavanagh Kincaid's engine works at Greenock in Renfrewshire, Scotland. Sometime throughout the night of Friday, 1st of February, the works were broken into and Mr Gallagher was found brutally murdered the next morning. The only clues we have to go on are that a burgundy-coloured Sierra, registration E104ATY, was stolen that night from the premises James Gallagher was guarding, along with this TV video recorder and other electronic equipment. Whoever stole that car would have gone home reeking of paint thinner, which had been spilt inside. If you do know anything at all, please ring us tonight. Remember, James Gallagher was murdered just for doing his job.
It seems some thieves really do stop at nothing. This staircase from Belfast was stolen, these intricate Yorkshire gates were nicked, and even a 30-foot-high stained glass window was dismantled piece by piece. And these architectural thefts are sadly on the increase. Hutton in the Forest is an historic house open to the public near Penrith in Cumbria. One night in early December, thieves snatched the 2 lead cupids from the top of these gate posts. One of them proved too heavy and was dumped in the grounds. They even tried to take this statue of Mercury as well, but only succeeded in breaking it. 2 nights later, thieves came back again and stole another lead statue, this time a life-size figure of a goddess by the 18th century artist Van Nost. You'll certainly recognise her because her left leg's broken and she's peppered with bullet holes. During the Second World War, when forces were stationed at Lord Inglewood's stately home, they enjoyed shooting at the garden ornaments for target practice. If you've seen any of these beautiful objects, do let us know. You could save a small but precious part of our heritage. And if you can help with this, or any of our other incident desk cases, do please call us now.
This is the number, 081 811 8181. And incidentally, there's more information on those personal attack alarms Jackie was talking about on CFAX, if you have that, on page 618.
Tonight's final reconstruction is about the murder of a prostitute, an extrovert, cheerful 27-year-old who worked the streets in Manchester. Ironically, 3 or 4 weeks before she met her death, Maria Rakina, or Christine as she was known, appeared on a television documentary where she talked about the dangers of her job.
It's a game that you can't really you can't trust nobody. And that there's young girls out here at the age of 16, 17. They've been told to move on and they still keep coming back, but they don't understand what the risks are. I mean, there is a hell of a lot of danger going on. I mean, I've been attacked by a punter. I've had my money taken off me. They don't seem to realise that could happen to them. I mean, some girls get raped, mugged. I mean, there's been girls down here that's been murdered, being chucked in the canal. There's been a lot of things that's happened, and it's wrong. It really is wrong. I mean, the social don't pay enough, and if you've got kids to bring up, it's all the more harder. So this is the only thing that I feel comfortable in. But you've got to understand there are risks. There's a hell of a lot of risk taken with it as well.
We call the areas that we work in our offices, and Christine's office was Canal Street, Minchell Street, around the corner of there. She was my best friend, really. I didn't know that many people up there. Never ever needed any help or anything, and Christine had helped me. She's really bubbly. She really, she's outrageous. She speaks with her hands. She's always giggling and loud, very loud.
Christine's friend Sharon remembers a conversation they had on Christmas Eve.
I've just had enough now, I'm getting out. Where are you going to go? Going up, stay with Bev. No, Bev?
I don't know, Bev.
She do. I've known her for years.
Where she live?
She lives up in Lee.
I didn't know a Bev. I asked her who it was, and she said it were either in Lee or Leeds. I couldn't say for sure, but she said she was going to stop with her.
Find it. It's by the market.
Well, it's easy enough then, isn't it?
You sticking out late tonight?
She protected me. She told me what to do, what not to do. And she was always there when I needed her. She was just really close. She was a good friend.
But a few days after Christmas, Christine was still living in Moss Side. She worked through the night till around 5 or 6 a.m. when she called into the newsagents around the corner from her flat. But these visits stopped after the morning of Friday, December the 28th.
Hi, Abdul, you all right? Yeah, it's tired, not too bad. All right, I'll have 3 of these and 1 of those, okay? Huh? Where's Rambo this morning, then?
He's at the back, Chris.
Did you want some of this? Come on, Rambo.
She always came in here. She bought lots of crisps, 7, 8 packets of crisps. And she always liked the dog. She always bought Kit Kat and fed the dog almost every day whenever she came in. Dog really liked her. My dog doesn't go to anybody, but he always went to her.
Right, suppose you want paying now, do you? Okay.
She's a nice, cheerful person. Never moaned or groaned about anything. She was great.
Okay, take it easy.
See you later, love. Bye. I never saw Chris after that.
Several people think they may have seen Christine during the first days of the new year. But the last positive sighting was by her close friend Debbie at 10:15 p.m. on New Year's Day.
Nice, eh? Where'd you get that from? Punter gave this to me. Aye. Gonna score tonight with this one. Woo!
It's a bad night tonight, isn't it?
God, I know, it's freezing. Do you want a fag?
She came up to me, she was trying to light a cigarette. And she had like a clipper lighter with a roller and she couldn't flick it. Her fingers were really blue with the cold, and I kept saying to her, where's them gloves that I gave you the other day? Oh, I've left them at home, I don't know what I've done with them, making all sorts of excuses about these gloves that she didn't have on.
I don't know what I've done with them. You know me, in the gutter, in the car, I don't know.
And we were talking, a punter pulled up, I got in the car, and then she walked off down Canal Street, and I was saying to her, I'll see you later. I can't believe that was the last time I saw her.
"15 miles away in Lee, Pennington Flash is popular with fishermen. On Sunday, January the 6th, John Faulkner and his son found Christine's dismembered body in plastic bags stuffed into a mattress cover. It was lying in a shallow part of the lake near the car park on Slag Lane. Christine had been strangled, but her body had been in the water for no more than 24 hours. And the night before her body was discovered, several people were suspicious of what was happening in the car park. At about 7:40, a couple driving up Slag Lane saw a white van reversing into the car park. There were two men inside, one of whom, the driver, seemed to be wearing a peaked cap. Three other people also saw a white van on their way to dump some rubbish on Slag Lane Tip.
I looked over to the car park and I saw a white vehicle, which to me looked like a white dog angling van.
Twice, as cars drove past, the van turned off its lights and reversed back into the car park.
The white van just looked too suspicious to me, like what it was doing.
When they were closer to the tip, they saw the van drive out at speed without its lights on. Then, at midnight, a couple driving up Slag Lane saw a Datsun Cherry in the car park.
I mentioned to my wife that it must be a courting couple or something like that. But then we thought, well, that was strange because he'd had his headlights on.
Somebody's got to know something. I mean, she was so recognisable, she was full of life, she was always laughing and smiling. She's just not there anymore. She was a really nice person. Please help.
John Smith, obviously, to get that help, you need to eliminate the Datsun Cherry. What about the white van? How convinced are you that was something to do with the murder?
I'm not 100% convinced. It may well be a courting couple there who didn't want to be seen, or someone dumping rubbish. But whatever the reason, I'd like them to contact the incident room in order that they can eliminate them from this inquiry.
Why was she killed? What was the motive?
I honestly don't know. It may well be an argument she's had with an acquaintance, or it may be drug-related, or tragically it may be a client relationship which has gone terribly wrong.
You said it might be drug-related. She had quite a bad drug habit, in fact, didn't she?
Yeah, she had a £100 a day drug habit.
So it could be related to that. You say, what
Yes.
was she wearing on the day she died?
Well, she had a 3/4 length anorak on, which was dark blue or black, with a drawstring fastening at the bottom. But quite noticeably, she had a beige and pink round neck sweater, which had a floral design on the front, which was surrounded by pearls and sequins. It's quite distinctive, and I would like, if anyone has seen that pullover since about the 1st of January this year, or knows its present location, to contact the incident room.
Now, you say since the 1st of January last year. The sequence of events is she disappeared from her flat on the 29th of December. She was definitely seen on the 1st of January, possibly on the 2nd, and even possibly, I think, on early in the morning of the 3rd of January.
That is correct. At Watson Shebeen in Broadfield Road, Moss Side in Manchester, a brown-coloured Cortina Datsun was seen at 4 a.m, containing a woman and an elderly West Indian driver. Obviously, anyone who saw her over that period of time, from the 1st to the 3rd, please contact the incident room. And I would like to hear, obviously, from the driver of that brown vehicle or the other passenger.
Now, perhaps the best clue comes from where she was found, from the mattress cover in which she was found.
That is correct. The mattress cover, when examined, was found to bear a laundry mark, which is about 1 inch in length. It bears a serial number 08230, which is quite unique in the United Kingdom. If anyone at all who has worked in a laundry or currently works in a laundry which uses an old figure laundry mark number, please contact the incident room at Lee Police Station.
Or you can call us here, of course. It is a small clue, that last one, but of course murder cases have been solved before with far less to go on. If you recognise that marking, do please call us. Here's the number, and remember that guarantee of absolute discretion. If, for example, you've been involved with drugs or something like that, the police have promised no publicity and only gratitude for anyone who calls to help. 081 811 8181. Or you can call the Lee Incident Room, as John Smith said. That's on 0942 44981. That's 0942, the code for Lee, 44981.
Finally tonight, a browse around our Aladdin's Cave, property that may have been stolen in burglaries anywhere around the country, although this particular collection here comes from the Met in London. Here's Eric Knowles now to show us around.
Thank you, Sue. Well, the theme this evening is Think Big, because many of the objects we're going to look at
obviously came from a large house, or should I say houses. And this coffer is a case in point. It's Italian, 17th century, but I do feel that that carving down there is almost certainly 19th century. One thing I am certain about is these ladies, they're definitely 19th century, dating from around about 1860, and the work of a French sculptor called Albert Carrier. Now, they're missing their torches, and I could do with them to throw a bit of light onto this picture. It's signed David Cox, and it's titled In the Park, Bolton Bridge, Yorkshire. But I've got my doubts about it, I will admit. No doubts whatsoever about this monster of a French long case clock. Late 18th century, Burwood panels inset there. As for the glazed canopy, well, I'm afraid it's so dirty you can hardly read the chapter dial. It's obviously in need of a good clean. Here's another object in need of a good clean. It's an Italianate old master painting, good architectural detail, subjects in the foreground, some of whom are in classical dress and some of whom I see are enjoying a drink. Now, if you enjoy a drink, you can't go wrong with a German beer stein like this. Dates from around about 1750, and it's got its original pewter cover. Dating from about the same time, maybe 1770, it's this really weird-looking object. Now, I have to say, this started off life in China. It's 18th century export porcelain with a European armorial. Now, at some stage, this dish has been cut down, given a wooden frame, and has been turned into what I might describe as an upmarket cheese dish. Very upmarket. This beautiful Paris porcelain little tea set. Just the thing that maybe Marie Antoinette might have used to pour herself a cup of tea after a hard night at the opera. And it could well be that that opera in question was written by this man, celebrating the 200th centenary of his death, Johann Amadeus Mozart. An endearing artist, to say the least. Or should I say enduring, because endearing really applies to this gentleman, Joseph Barker of Bath. Well, to use its correct title, as we all know, north of Watford, Bath. Lovely subject, donkeys. It takes me back to my seaside days as a small boy. Lovable and cuddleable. Also lovable is a loving cup. Now, to all intents and purposes, it looks Dutch, 17th century, but alas, it's Victorian. It's a copy. Solid silver, mind you. The Victorians did make some strange things, and they don't come much stranger than this object. A squirrel. Now, the top half silver, the bottom half silver, but as for the body, it's an ostrich egg. Now, it could well be that at one stage it held a nut. I can only hope that it's one nut that's not going to be too difficult for somebody to crack this evening.
Quite extraordinary collection there. The number to ring if you think you recognised anything, 081 811 8181. That's 081 811 8181. And in fact, if you think you can help with any of our cases tonight, you can call this number any time up until midnight. All the incident room numbers we've given you so far are on CFAX on page 618.
The biggest volume of calls is on the armed raid in Cheltenham. We've had a tremendous number trying to identify both the men involved, particularly the gunman, that was the blonde man. A number of people have rung anonymously, giving names for him. One or two of those names match. The officers in charge say if you've got any more information that actually links them to the robbery, please do call again, even if you insist on being anonymous. We'll be back at 11:55 with Crimewatch Update. If you can't stay up till then, and who can blame you, don't be anxious because of anything you've seen tonight. Quite the opposite. You can rest assured that several of those crimes right now are likely to be on the way to being solved. So don't have nightmares, do sleep well. Good night.
Good night.